I want to share with you 7 lessons that I've learnt over the last 10 plus years of filming wildlife. I've almost exclusively worked with the BBC Natural History Unit in Bristol. They're the guys who make all the Attenborough shows, and I've been lucky enough to work with some of the best cinematographers in the business. These are lessons that I've purely based on my experience, and I'm going to go back through the archive to my very first 2 showreels. So I'm a bit nervous about that. I haven't watched them in a very long time, so let me know what you think. And if you've just got your very first camera, welcome to the pack. And if you've got any questions about this kind of stuff, let me know. Right, 2017, let's get into the first one. So this is Pembrokeshire. I went out an early morning. I mean, golden light, like, it is often a winner. Moving the camera a bit too much. So I was just going out, learning how to move a camera. There you go, field work in Pembrokeshire. Top down, I'm literally flying the drone, trying out different moves. Following lines. Learning how to do manual orbit, so moving around things. Slow and fast movement, you know, filling the screen with texture. Beekeeping with my dad. Or flying in proximity. That's a really good one to learn. Learning the distance you can fly with the drone, like how close things are as you fly past. So this is in the Alps. You can see I've got the shutter speed wrong there, and possibly the frame rate, so I'm probably not using ND. You can see it kind of jitters a bit. I mean, you've got to think about what are we trying to do. I much prefer a shot like that if you had kind of started low with the group of students in the foreground and flown up over their heads or something like that to show their point of view. I quite like this. Again, like if I was doing that parallax now, I'd want the drone to be much closer to the cliff. Almost filling the frame so you get a really good reveal out from the foreground. So that's Fig, by the way. She's our new puppy, and she's just dreaming. So a few things to learn from that. You've got to use what you've got. One really obvious thing is that's all drone, and with wildlife, one of the primary tools I use now is actually a long lens, so a camera with a telephoto lens on it. I use the 150 to 600 most of the time. I sometimes put a teleconverter on that just to increase my focal length. If you don't have a telephoto zoom lens, you've got a drone, or if you've got a GoPro, you've got a phone, you can use those things to film. And I used to take my drone with me everywhere, and I'd just throw it up and I'd film where I was, because I wasn't getting paid for it, but I wanted to take this footage and I wanted to create a portfolio to then take to directors or producers at the BBC and say, here's work I've done in the past, will you hire me to work for you? Eventually it worked, but it did take a few years. You don't have to film everything, but you want to film the moment. So if you've got you could always fix your camera and wait for something to happen to then hit record. If you've got pre-record on your camera, then that's great. But then movement is also very important. Like if you think about the camera trying to portray emotion through the camera you're using. So if, for example, you've got a fire sequence, you might start the sequence locked off, so a static shot on the spark that starts the fire, but then as the scene progresses, as the energy grows, you might move the camera more and you might have more dynamic movement. You might put it onto a gimbal, which is a stabilization tool that if you hold it on, then the vibrations in the camera get smoothed out. And then you might move from the gimbal to more handheld movement, because that's actually going to increase the shake and the feel of energy in the camera. As you're starting out, get the technical stuff right, practice using manual. most people don't use autofocus when they're filming wildlife, because if you're filming wildlife and you're filming, I don't know, an antelope running behind some grass, and then autofocus goes hunting for it in the middle of a shot where it's being hunted, or they're going to rut and crash together, and then suddenly you get focus hunting from autofocus, that kind of ruins the shot and stops it being usable. So I would always put the lens into manual focus so that I can decide where it's following the action, and I'm not going to have any autofocus hunting ruining the shot. So practice that. So practice manual focusing, practice using manual shutter, manual ISO, manual aperture, and get consistent and get good at it, because the more you do that, and your portfolio work can show it. Like in that portfolio, I definitely had technical issues, which now when I look back at it, I can see, but it's all about learning. Location, 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 location. Nature's out there, it's waiting. You can't film beautiful sunrises without being there to see it. You can't film those 10 seconds of the sun bursting through the clouds in the Kerrang on Sky without being there to see it. And whatever tools you have, take them out with you. It's the most annoying thing to be there when something happens and you haven't got your camera. I used to carry my camera and drone everywhere when I was building my portfolio up, and I still carry a camera with me at all times, whether it's a phone camera or a DSLR, or whether it's that camera. I mean, I don't carry that camera everywhere. It's a bit too big for that. Okay, next one. Pour over coffee was a total game changer. That was one of my presents from my brother this Christmas. So 2019, this is when I got my DSLR for Christmas. I like to try and keep showreels to about 2 minutes, but I'm going to save showreel editing for the next video, because it's like another layer of skill and why you might do things, but short and put your best bits up front. That's the top advice for showreels. This is the Cairngorms up in Scotland. Canada. Birmingham. Creep, bit of light. So there's a bit of sound design on this. There's a bit of a mix, it's not really sequences here. Oh, there we go, so we've got scientists, caddisflies, bit of a water theme. There we go. I haven't watched this in a very long time. This is my Robin film. This actually got me my first job. Back to the Cairngorms. Back to the Robin film. We're showing a bit more of a sequence, so we're trying to show that we can capture different angles. So those are the grebes from the beginning. Bit of breeding behaviour, mating, nesting, capturing those behaviours of an animal over a season. Kingfishers and deer, and that's Jackson Wild, Wyoming, America. There's quite a lot more going on in this showreel, quite a few more techniques. We start off with some drone shots. It's a bit of a montage at the start, which fine. You know, if you've got 3 really good shots and you can put them up front, that's fine. Some nice light there. Focusing on kind of golden light at the start, bit of mist drifting across. One thing I'd say about this now, looking back at it, I haven't watched this in a very long time, is I don't linger on many shots for very long. I do like to watch things now and have, if a shot's good, like let it breathe. And then also jumping in back and forwards in sequences, I don't mind. I mean, that's kind of the caterpillar is kind of weird. Like I think I was trying to show a lot of techniques in this. You know, you've got filming people doing things, and then you've got macro underwater, going back to the Grebe story. Like I felt more settled watching this when I'm watching this Robin sequence. And again, like there's some movement and then we're following character. Static, letting the bird come up through shots. Static shots work really nicely actually to just kind of help ground a sequence. And with birds as well, if you watch their behaviour, you can quite often they'll repeat things. So you can have these locked off static shots and they'll come back, and if you just wait and wait, they often go through the same perches. So, and you could do that with a phone, you could do that with a GoPro. I mean, I've actually used a GoPro in this Robin bit. Going back to macro. Funny lighting there, isn't it? So yeah, here. So here, this is GoPro footage, where I've kind of put a GoPro down and then in a few different places multiple times to get all those angles to then be able to cut it together to get the sequence. And I went back to these Grebes loads. There was a specific spot in Birmingham. I went back quite a few mornings to try and get the full... And actually, I think it's 2 different locations from memory. And if you're going out a lot and you're walking around, you know, you've got to find a nest where you can actually see the eggs. That's Slovenian Grebes. That's when I was working in Scotland for Springwatch. You know, you might be finding that as you're walking out and about, like you need good locations to be able to film certain things. And with my next showreel, that's what I was really trying to build on, because I wanted my work to stand out from the crowd. I remember one of the producers from Silverback saying to me, you know, this displays like quite good fieldcraft or really good fieldcraft, but focus more on making shots more perfect. And that's where I'm talking about those 10 seconds where you wait for the sun to come through the clouds to light up the scene that you've got framed up. You could spend some time making a really nice sequence of goslings if you spend a lot of time with them, and you might want to focus on a single character and then get lots of angles of that character so you get wides of its environment, show where it is, show its place, get close-ups of its face, follow it, you know, a few days if you've got the time, and have angles to cut around the sequence. So if you can place a GoPro multiple times to get those, if you've only got one camera, you know, if you haven't got 3 cameras, you can place it and place it again and place it again to get those angles if a behaviour is repeatable. So the key to all wildlife filmmaking lies in understanding wildlife. That's first and foremost. And then if you want to be a camera person, camera operator, cinematographer, DOP, the next layer of it is then understanding the equipment and how you can use the equipment. There's so much equipment that can be used nowadays, and you can use it in loads of interesting ways. Learning how then you can cut what you can capture with cameras on wildlife, how you can cut it to make it tell a story. You know, if you want to say this, these goslings live here, you've got a wide of a lake with the geese and the chicks. What about the pike in the lake? You know, there's a reason that goslings or geese have loads of chicks. It's because those fish actually eat them. So you might want to have an underwater shot or a shot of the water saying there are fish under here, lurking predators. I don't know. That's understanding nature. And then by understanding nature, then you use your camera to tell the story. So you're saying, this is the why, this is the location, these are the beautiful, gorgeous little chicks, let's fall in love with them. But they've got to survive through spring because there are predators lurking in these waters. And then one chick survives, and that's the chick that we're following. Having that variety of shots really helps when it comes to editing. And if you can show that in a sequence you want to show to a producer, that's going to help them realise that you can be the person that they can hire to tell a story. If you've liked this video, then you might like this one. It's not Fig. Well, you will like, if you like this video, you probably like Fig because you probably like wildlife. All right, see you in the next one.